Hello YouTube, this is again Daniel Cameron, Average Guy Cameron, coming to you. Going to be making a support board for a speed bag. Alright, this is something I've been really looking forward to. This is how I'm going to do it. So yeah, just going to jump right into it. So what I have here is melamine. So melamine alone isn't what I would recommend in order to make the backboard, because as you can see, it's made up of a bunch of particles of wood that are glued together. Oh, there we go. So whenever there's vibration involved, like the speed bags that's going to be bouncing around all the time, it's going to basically your connections, like your bolts and stuff, are going to rattle around, break it all apart, and you're going to need to replace it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to marry these two boards to plywood. The reason why I don't want to do the plywood alone is because this can splinter and everything. Over time you can get smoother stuff, but I like the smoothness of melamine, and that's going to keep and not splinter and not ruin my bag. So I'm going to marry these two together with the holy bond of PL Premium. I love this stuff. Should be something in every garage arsenal. It marries everything together, like wood, glass, brick, cement, metal. I've used this on everything. I always have a couple of tubes on me, and yeah, I think everyone just try it someday. I'm telling you, it is the best. So I use that. Then I'm going to use my clamps. This is another thing I recommend everyone have in their arsenal, their garage arsenal, is some clamps. Every time you go to the garage, to the hardware store, buy one or two. They, if you buy more than one, they do get expensive. But if you buy one at a time and you look for deals, you can get pretty good deals, and buy an assortment until you have a good variety, because these always come in handy. So yeah, those two things, highly recommend to always have on standby. So the melamine I've already roughed up. I had a bunch of these sanding blocks left over from painting the house, as I've mentioned before. I just moved in, so I just sanded it up, cleaned it off, and just, so that the PL Premium can adhere. Mind you, I don't think that's going to be a problem, because that stuff bonds to everything. And I'm going to marry that together. I'm going to do a time lapse so it looks cool. So as you could probably tell, I had unexpected help from my miniature assistant. Yeah, my live-in miniature assistant. She decided to come in and take a look at my progress. So anyway, what you can see here is that one, I had a little technical difficulty with both the tube. I had to cut it open, and I was a little generous with how much I put down, because, well, better safe than sorry. And it's the last time I'm going to be able to use that tube. I've used it multiple times, and she just wasn't coming out like normal. So I just cut the top right off and laid her all out. Then I had technical difficulty with one of my clamps, so I decided, hey, what the heck, I'll go get a plethora of my little clamps, put them all around the edges, and while I was doing so, I could really tell like it was doing a lot of good, because yeah, the edges were still quite far apart in some spots. So now she's pretty darn tight, as you can see there. She's married quite well. And then in the center there, I just put 75 pounds of weight. All together, that should keep her pretty darn close enough. And now you leave that sit for like a day. So I'll get to the rest of that tomorrow, most likely. I'll be cutting it off right here, making it pretty much square. And then I'll be, doing the rest, and I'll explain that tomorrow. Happy Family Day, everybody. So I'm continuing my project on the speed bag stand. So my father was in town, so he's actually who taught me most of everything I know how to do. So basically I'll tell you exactly where I got. First off, the board is right there. Put this one here. So you can see the board's right here.
Now I just cut the corner off in order to make it look a little nicer. I'm going to be covering up these edges with something else. I'll get into that later. Now, one of the issues, whenever you're coming up against a corner like that, very rarely are you ever going to get a 90-degree angle. So there's one way that I end up solving how to get this to fit in nice and snug, and I'll go into that in a moment. But as you can see up here, what I did was I did have a stud finder. Now, if you don't have a stud finder, sometimes you can use a strong magnet in order to find out where the screws inside your sheetrock are. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to have to open it up, because you can't just anchor this into the wall like you would a picture frame. This has got to go into the stud. So if you don't have a stud finder, maybe a strong magnet, but I highly recommend finding a stud finder. So what I did there is I countersinked the holes a little bit, and I just use some regular like deck screws with some washers to make sure that she's in there good and tight. Now, there's going to be a ton of vibration. So what I did was I went to Dollarama at some point, and I got a bunch of these foam mats, like kids mats, kind of like what you would have on a gym floor. Floor is dirty because I've been working. So long story short, I put a couple of those on the inside so as to protect your sheetrock, because that's going to crack after a while, as well as help reduce the sound, because this is going to be noisy. And then I just married the two in there because it's not, I don't have them everywhere that I would like. I would like to have more. So seeing as I don't have more, might as well use the strength of this one and the strength of this one together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the board underneath this, and I'm going to screw up, and then I'm going to sandwich it in with another piece, and you'll see this part. Sorry for taking that last video vertically, but yeah, again, I'm still learning. So it's up now. Whenever I last videoed this, you probably saw right there was a line underneath. Okay, well, I forgot to mention that what I did was you need to get your bearing as to how high this has to be for you. So what I did was I had my father stand back here. I had literally just take that, duct taped it there so that my father could hold it up. I came in and I felt where it felt good, okay? And then he held it there. I just marked off one mark, and then what I did was with a level, I went all along that side. So then, that was the original mark that you see there. Then I took the width of this, okay? And I just measured it up, and then I made my second line. So my second line is where this was gonna be. And then that was gonna be placed in afterwards. And as you can see, what I did now was, once I got it all put into place, and I'm gonna make a whole other video with how to measure in corners in order to get tight fits like this, okay? So I'll do that as a separate video. You can look at it if you need. So now that I got that all in, I had my father hold it up there. I had pre-drilled a couple of these holes, and like 16 altogether, and he held it up. I tacked in 1, 2, 3, and then I took my time and I did all the rest. Okay, so that was pretty solid, but still, when it hits against that corner, it's solid. When it comes back here, you still get a little vibration. So you want to avoid that vibration, especially again whenever you're talking about melamine. So this is how I'm going to solve it. You can see that's the bolt coming in from right there. So what we did was we tied this end over to this end, and that's with a 45-degree angle, okay? Over there, it was just simply butting up against each other. I mentioned that earlier. So that's good, nice and solid. Now, I actually ran out of deck screws, so I gotta go pick some up tomorrow. And what I'm gonna do is right here, and right here, right along that line, I'm gonna screw it in so that she's nice and tight here. And then I have another piece of wood right there. That's a 2x6, okay? So you can see here, I cut a 45 on one end and a 45 on another end, and that's gonna sit right on top of the 2x4 in the corner, right there, okay? Then I have that cut out, and I just use my Dremel Dremel saw, okay? And you could use a reciprocating saw, any way that really works. I assume that anyone watching this can figure out how to use a saw in order to do this. My Dremel, you know, you can cut straight in, and it's great for these kind of projects. I love my Dremel tool. So that is going to come up and it's going to sit right on here. So then I'm going to tie that back end in down, and then I'm going to have this, I'll just show you right here. That's going to be standing like this. Okay, that's in the back corner. I screw down here, 1, 2, then I screw in here, then I screw in here, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then I'm gonna pre-drill. And you always want to pre-drill whenever you're really close to an edge so that it doesn't split, okay? So make sure you pre-drill anything like that. I'm gonna pre-drill one right here, okay? And then drill down, pre-drill here, pre-drill there, and again, same thing on the other side. Then that's gonna tie it into the supportive structure there, nice and tight. And then this is gonna be sticking out right here. So I don't want this bag touching any screws, and that's gonna come up. That only comes up here, right? So I'm gonna put 1 or 2 right there. Okay, so again, she's not gonna touch that at all. And that's how I'm gonna prevent this from vibrating at all. And that should be totally solid. So I'm super happy with how that turned out. With my father, again, my father knows what he's doing whenever it comes to projects like this. It took the two of us maybe like 2 hours. Sorry I didn't get to show like the making of this. I wanted to do time lapse, but my father was in a rush and I just had to get this done while he was in town. So yeah, hopefully if you have any questions, feel free to leave questions or comments in the questions comment section, and I'll do my best to get back to you on if you need any help with any of this. Again, it was a great project. I'll show you the finished product tomorrow, and then I'm going to paint it so that I have tons of paint left over from as we just moved into this house. So once that's all painted, the only thing I won't paint is the melamine because I like the white. It's going to look great. So yeah, that's a great addition to this gym. It really ties it all in together. It is done. So you can see that 2x6 as a cross member has actually really shored that up. She's super solid now. So this entire thing, as I say, I trade for most of my things. I traded this for a bottle that I gotten for Christmas, a bottle of scotch. So this cost me nothing. The wood was all scrap wood. The only thing I spent money on was the 3 screws that I bought today. So $2.52 for 3.5 inches. And I put one right there. Put one in the middle going into the center support structure, and then one right at the very back. I used the clamps that you had seen earlier in the video. I clamped it all up, okay, made sure she was nice and tight, screwed those in, and then you can see I screwed, now I used a couple of drywall screws because I had run out of the other ones. Normally I wouldn't do this, but again, this is not like a load-bearing structure, it's just to tie it all in. So I said, what the heck? And then bang, 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 bang. And I went downwards, and this way I protect the integrity of this. I'll probably cover up those ones later, as you saw earlier. But no, now she is solid as can be. And now to show off the project in its completion. There it is painted, it looks much nicer. And then for the outside corner of all this, again, that was white melamine. I ended up finding this curtain that was left over from the previous owners of this house. So all I did was I cut it and then I glued it in place, and now it actually looks like a perfect melamine finish. I just gotta wash that with a magic erase marker, but that's it. I am super happy with the look of that. And remember guys, if an average guy like me can do this, anyone can.